Hello and welcome to KLM Institute,
where we bring you the latest and most engaging updates from around the world. Today, we're diving into a topic that's shaking up the business world: former President Donald Trump's threat to John Deere. Yes, the iconic farm equipment maker could face a 200% tariff if it goes ahead with plans to move some of its production to Mexico. Let's unpack this story and explore all the angles, including the potential consequences for Deere, U.S. businesses, workers, and even Mexico. First things first, let's talk about John Deere, a company that has been an integral part of American agriculture for nearly 200 years. Known for its iconic green and yellow machines, Deere manufactures the equipment that keeps American farms running. But now, Deere is in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. The company, based in Moline, Illinois, is reportedly planning to shift some production from its U.S. factories to Mexico. While many companies have made similar moves in the past, the impact here is far more significant because of the person involved: Donald Trump. Trump, a former president known for his unorthodox approach to business and trade, has wasted no time making his feelings known. During a roundtable with farmers in Pennsylvania, Trump directly threatened Deere. He warned the company that if it followed through with its plans, he would impose a 200% tariff on everything Deere wants to sell in the U.S. Now, let's break down what that could mean. A 200% tariff is absolutely massive. It would raise the price of Deere's machinery significantly, and guess who would be left footing the bill? American farmers. Higher prices on farming equipment would make it more expensive for U.S. farmers to get the tools they need to do their jobs. This could hurt the very people Trump claims to be protecting: American farmers. What's more, experts like Bill George, former CEO of Medtronic, warn that this approach would hurt American companies in the long run. The tariffs would weaken Deere, and, as George says, ultimately raise prices for American consumers and farmers. But the consequences don't stop there. If Deere gives in to Trump's threats and cancels its plans to move production to Mexico, it would make the company less competitive in the global market. Deere operates in a highly competitive industry, and if it doesn't keep up with the global manufacturing landscape, it could lose market share. According to experts like Christine McDaniel, a top trade official under George W. Bush, this would lead to fewer sales, lower revenue, and ultimately, fewer employees at Deere. It's also important to mention that Trump's tariff threat may violate a major trade deal: the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. This trade deal, which Trump himself negotiated and signed, promises zero tariffs on farming equipment. Imposing a 200% tariff would be in direct contradiction to that agreement. It's another example of how Trump's actions could throw the economy into disarray, creating uncertainty and confusion in global trade relations. On the flip side, let's think about what would happen if Deere does decide to go ahead with its plans to move production to Mexico. While the move might be seen as a loss for U.S. workers, it could be a win for Mexico. By shifting production to Mexico, Deere could lower its costs and stay competitive with Chinese manufacturers, who have increasingly become a dominant force in the global market. Mexico would benefit from the additional manufacturing jobs, which could help boost its economy. In fact, companies moving production to Mexico is not a new trend. Many American companies have already established manufacturing operations south of the border to take advantage of lower labor costs and proximity to the U.S. market. Now, let's take a step back and look at the broader picture: the impact of tariffs on U.S. businesses and employment. If Deere is forced to deal with these tariffs, it's not just the company that could suffer. U.S. workers could also face the consequences. Deere employs tens of thousands of people across the United States, with major manufacturing plants in Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin. These workers could lose their jobs if Deere is forced to scale back operations or shift production overseas to avoid high tariffs. This would hurt the economy in regions where Deere has a significant presence. In fact, it's not just Deere. There's a ripple effect when tariffs are imposed on companies. Businesses may face higher costs for parts and materials, which can trickle down to consumers. U.S. farmers would feel the pain in the form of higher equipment prices. And don't forget, smaller companies that rely on Deere's products and services might also suffer. It's a complex web of interdependence, and Trump's tariff threats could destabilize it all. What's particularly concerning about Trump's approach is the unpredictability it creates. CEOs and business leaders across the country are watching closely, wondering if they, too, could be the next target.
Mr. President, I know you're about to get on the road to an amazing rally up in Indiana, but before you leave, and I know Ambassador Grinnell had some final words, would like to turn the floor over to our next president, Mr.
Well, thank you
Mr.
very
Trump.
much, and it's been great. I love the farmers. I'm very comfortable with the farmers. I feel I know your business, but I haven't plowed quite as much as you, but I do know your business very well. We've had a tremendous relationship. I've always won with the farmers, and that's because I produce promises made, promises kept. Number one, your energy bill within 12 months will be cut in half, and that's my pledge all over the country. Beyond farmers, that's my pledge all over the country. We have more energy under our feet than any other country. I call it liquid gold, and we have more than any other country. We have ANWR in Alaska, which the first thing they did, the Biden-Harris administration, everybody wanted it. It's the biggest. It could be as big or bigger than Saudi Arabia, and would have supplied Asia, would have supplied vast parts of the world, would have made more money than you could even imagine. We were going to lower your taxes, pay off debt. They terminated it. Reagan wanted it, couldn't get it. Everybody wanted it, couldn't get it. I got it. They were all set to drill, and the first thing they did the first week is they terminated ANWR, but I can get it back very quickly because I got it through Congress, and we'll get it back very quickly. They didn't terminate it through Congress. They just terminated it. Just absolutely ridiculous. But I'll have your energy bill down within 12 months. We'll have your energy bills throughout the country. I'm not just talking here. I'm talking all over. Air conditioning, heating, everything. We'll have it down by 50%, 50, and it won't even be very hard. You know, up in New England, they have tremendous energy costs, and a few minor changes, and we can reduce it. New England is a disaster. I won't say they vote for Democrats so much anymore. I think we're probably taking that over because of energy and because of a lot of other reasons. But we're going to protect you, fracking. You know, in my case, I was always for it, and in her case, she was never for it. She wants to defund the police, too. All of a sudden, she likes the police. It started a short while ago. I really like the police a lot. Now, she wanted to defund the police. She did things in Minnesota that were so bad. She was bailing out people that wanted to kill the police, and were actually trying to kill the police and burning down Minneapolis. So we're going to do things the way you want it. A big factor here is, with all of you as I speak, is energy in two ways. Number one, you want to be able to collect royalties and other things, or even have a job in energy. That's very important to help your farm. And the other thing is you got to keep the prices down. So we're going to do both, and we'll do it fast too. It'll be largely taken care of within 12 months. I predict within 12 months it'll be down 50%. And if they get in, your energy costs are going through the roof. Okay, they're going to go through the roof. You won't have a farm very long. I will tell you that. I just noticed behind me John Deere tractors. I know a lot about John Deere. I love the company, but as you know, they've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States, so that if I win, John Deere is going to be paying a 200%. They haven't started it yet. Maybe they haven't even made the final decision yet, but I think they have. John Deere is going to, and anybody else that does this, because it's hurting our farmers, it's hurting our manufacturing. And if you do that, you're going to have a 200% tariff put on the product that you make in Mexico, right across the border. They think they're going to make product cheaper in Mexico and then sell it in for the same prices they did before, make a lot of money by getting rid of our labor and our jobs, and really a great name, because John Deere is a great name. I buy a lot of John Deere, tremendous. I'm one of their big customers. I buy a lot of John Deere product as a private person. But if they're going to do that, we're going to put a 200% tariff on everything that they want to send back into the United States, which means one of two things. Our country is going to make a lot of money, or they're not going to build, they're not going to open, and or they're going to sell it to another country. They're entitled to do that. If they want to build in the country, in the United States, there's no tariff. You can go ahead and you can build in any one of the 50 states. You can go ahead. But if they don't want to do that, we're going to put a 200% tariff on John Deere. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to announce very shortly, if they think I'm going to win, or if I do win, they're going to announce that they're not going to build in Mexico. Mexico's taken a tremendous amount of our business, especially over the last few years with this group, because this group doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. Mexico is taking a lot of business, and a lot of it's done and financed by China. China is building massive car plants now in Mexico. And it's the same thing they're building, and a friend of mine builds car plants, and he said the biggest ones in the world are being built in Mexico. They're going to put Detroit out of business. They're going to put car manufacturing out of business in the United States. And I'm just telling everybody involved in this stuff, we're not going to rip off the United States anymore. We're going to put big tariffs on those cars that are coming in here at 100 to 200%, and they're no longer going to be competitive. So you better stay in Michigan, and you better stay in the areas that you're in right now. And what I really want you to do is come in and build your plants in this country and put our auto workers to work, because we've lost about 60% of our auto working business over the years. And we're going to get it all back, every one of them. We're going to get it all back, and we're going to get it back quickly. And we can control that so easily. So if they're building those plants in Mexico, which they're starting, if they're building and they wouldn't have done it with me, but now I guess they figure when they started, it was a little while ago, I guess they didn't even know I was going to run. They weren't too happy when they heard I was going to. But they're going to have to pay a tremendous tariff, which means two things. They're not going to build the plant if it's not too late. They're not going to build the plant. This country is going to make a lot of money. Or they're going to build the plant, but they're going to build it in the United States somewhere, and ideally a place like Michigan or South Carolina, where we have a lot of auto business. But we're not going to let that happen. But John Deere has got to understand that if they build in Mexico, they start closing plants. In this case, it was in Iowa. They're going to close a big plant. And a couple of them. And that's just the beginning. The problem is that's just the beginning. Then all of a sudden you'll hear in a year from now they're going to do another one. All of a sudden they're not going to be in the country anymore. They're going to have to pay a very big price to be able to sell that product into the United States, okay? So that's very important. And I just have to say this. So Dave McCormick is here. He's running for the Senate. He's a great gentleman. He's a hero, great warrior. And he's a real warrior, too. Served incredibly in the military, so highly respected, did great in the military, went out, did tremendously in the private sector, and he's running against Bob Casey. Bob Casey never did anything for you. He never did anything for Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. I was president for 4 years. I don't even know if I ever met him. I mean, I've met everybody. I don't know if I met him. Maybe I did, but it certainly didn't make a hell of an impression on me. But Bob Casey has done nothing for you as farmers. Well, look at the problems you have. As soon as I left, you have problems. You didn't have problems when I was running things because we ran it and we watched over the farmers. It was very important to me. But Bob Casey has done nothing for the farmers, and he's done nothing for the state. He's got long-term legacy. He inherited the job sort of from his father. And, when that happens, I was telling David, not easy there are other cases like that, too. Never easy to beat, but they're living only on a past reputation of somebody else, in this case, a father. He's done nothing for the state. And I didn't come here for David, but I have a lot of respect for him. And if I only do David, I tell you what, you have to get him. He's an incredible guy. He's going to make your farmers. He's going to help me make the farmers rich. We'll make the farmers rich again. And I appreciate everybody. I appreciate very much everybody. Just hang in there. And I know it's not been pleasant. But the first thing I do is I tell China, you got to start buying. China's not buying like they're supposed to under the agreement. And I'd say, China, you have to start buying. I'd like to, if I can, Lee, I'd like to have a few questions, if you want, from the media in the back. A lot of media here. Yes, ma'am.
Trump's past attacks on companies like Amazon, General Motors, and Boeing are proof that no business is safe from his ire. The threat of massive tariffs, boycotts, or canceled contracts can create a climate of fear, making it difficult for businesses to plan for the future. As former Medtronic CEO Bill George points out, this is anti-capitalist. It's not good for businesses or the economy when a president targets individual companies for political reasons. So, what's the way forward? For now, it seems that Deere is caught between a rock and a hard place. If the company follows through with its plans to move some production to Mexico, it could face Trump's wrath, which could hurt American workers and farmers. But if Deere backs down and keeps production in the U.S., it risks becoming less competitive in the global market, especially against Chinese manufacturers. It's a classic example of how global trade dynamics and political decisions can create tension between national interests and business realities. In the end, what's clear is that the consequences of Trump's 200% tariff threat are far-reaching. The impact would be felt by farmers, workers, and businesses across the U.S. and could lead to greater competition from China and other countries. If Deere moves its production to Mexico, it could benefit from lower labor costs, but at the expense of American jobs. It's a tough situation, and the decisions made here could set a dangerous precedent for U.S. businesses moving forward. If Trump returns to the White House, the business world could face even more uncertainty, with the threat of tariffs and political pressure hanging over companies in every sector. That's all for today. Thanks for tuning into KLM Institute. Stay tuned for more updates, and we'll keep you informed on all the latest developments.